Thank you. Thank you, conference. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, conference. This is a Q&A session, but the party asked me last night if I'd just say a few words to introduce it. Now, as it happens, on my computer, in a couple of files marked Saturday, version 7, Tuesday, version 23, it just so happens I've got a couple of speeches to draw on for this morning, but don't worry too much. I'm not going to give them. I want to, first of all, say that I've been incredibly honored and humbled by the support that you've given me. But we have a great new leader, and we all have to get behind him. I'm really, really, really proud. I'm so proud of my campaign. I'm so proud of my party. But above all, I'm incredibly proud of my brother. You see, Ed is a special person to me. Special person to me. Now, he's a special person to you. And our job is to make him a special person for all the British people. You don't run for the leadership, you don't do anything like that in politics or in life unless you're 100% committed to winning. But I've also learned something else in life. You never go in for something, especially something so important, unless you're sure in yourself that you're reconciled to the prospect that you might lose. That's life. So to those of you who've been coming up to me in the last few days, don't worry, I'll be fine. There's one man, there's just one thing, the guy who came up to me after the Usdaw reception, and, great Usdaw, the guy who came up to me after the Usdaw reception and said, Ed, congratulations on your victory. I mean, I can do without that. I can do without that again. So if he's in the hall, that's just about enough, I think, for that. Look, we need to come out of this conference unified. And nowhere is that more important than in respect of the war in Afghanistan. And this country is involved in a war at the moment. A war a very long way away, but a war nonetheless. And we have responsibilities, as does the government have responsibilities. 10,000 of our fellow citizens, 10,000 of our neighbors, our relatives, our friends, most of them young enough to be my son or daughter. They are, and I tell you this, having spent 6 visits to Afghanistan, they are the best and bravest of British, and we should be so, so proud of what they do for our country. We're not an occupying army in Afghanistan. We're trying to prevent an occupation by a minority of the population who want to terrorize the rest. But we also know something else. We've read our history. Foreign armies never, ever end civil wars. Civil wars, and that's what's happening in Afghanistan, civil wars are ended by politics, by a political settlement. And 3 years ago, I started arguing for a political settlement in Afghanistan. That's difficult things. That means the Afghan government leading a process to talk to those people who are attacking us. But there will be no end to the war in Afghanistan without a political settlement. The settlement means all the tribes of Afghanistan in, Al-Qaeda out, and the neighbors of Afghanistan on side for the settlement. And I plead with conference about this. I was carrying the flag for a political settlement 3 years ago, relatively speaking, on my own. Now, many more have joined. So let's send a serious message to David Cameron. A message from us as British people to him as the British Prime Minister. When he takes, as I hope he will, risks for peace, we will be the first to congratulate him every step of the way. The Afghan case is the hardest, but the issues you're going to ask us about today summon the very depths of our internationalism and our politics. And there's a fundamental choice for a country like ours in the modern world. There are two paths that offer us nothing. One is is still alive in the Tory party. It's a sort of post-imperial delusion that Britain can strut around the world, shooting from the lip, and expecting that because we're Britain, other countries are going to want to talk to us. That's not the way the modern world works. Sometimes people on the left fall for that delusion as well. But it's wrong. People will talk to us when we have strong alliances around the world. Those alliances start in our own backyard, in Europe. And on foreign policy, we should be saying a strong Britain will benefit from a strong European foreign policy. We need that. Let historians look back on our conference in Manchester and say this was the conference where Labour looked forward not just to its own future, but we looked forward to the future of Britain. That is our task at conference all of this week. We are the party that doesn't just examine our own navel, doesn't just sort out our own leadership. It's in touch every day with the people of Britain, concerned with their concerns, fighting for their issues, and fighting for a cause that is very, very special. Our fourth leader, John Robert Clines, he said something very, very important. He said, we come into Parliament not to practice the class war, but to end it. To end it. To end the abuse of power at the workplace, to end the inequalities of health and education, to end the waste of worklessness and the cruelty of crime. He said, come into Parliament to put into practice what it says on our membership cards. Power, wealth, and opportunity in the hands of the many and not the few. Those are inspiring words. Those are words that, if put into practice, would transform this country. Those are vital words that we remember, with one big difference from the days of John Robert Clines. In today's global village, if we want power, wealth, and opportunity in the hands of the many and not the few in Britain, we have to be a party that stands for power, wealth, and opportunity all around the world. That is the theme of this question and answer session today. And you know what I want most for the historians to say about this conference? I want them to say, the fight back has begun. That is our mission this week. Thank you very much indeed.